Greetings, my fellow Atreides, and you House Harkonnen scum. A little bit different today. We're going to start with a couple seconds from the trailer, and then we'll get into the movie review.
There's something happening to me.
In the
There's
butt.
an awakening in my mind. I can't control it.
Oh yeah, so good.
What did you see?
What did you see?
There's a crusade coming.
What's up, guys? Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing the second movie review of the channel. If I can quit the damn screen recorder here, hang on. Today, I want to talk about the Dune movie. Second movie review on this channel, and it's very appropriate because Dune, if you don't know, was based on a book by Frank Herbert, actually a series of books by Frank Herbert. Very, very groundbreaking sci-fi. I haven't read them. It's kind of on my list of old classics to read. I was introduced to Dune as a kid when I played a computer real-time strategy game called Battle for the Dune. Very good game. Old, but great in my opinion. And it immersed me in the story. And later I found out that they made a mini-series, I think it was on HBO, in like the early 2000s, and there was a movie before that. I haven't seen the original movie, but the 3-part mini-series was really good. And so I was very open to seeing this newest movie they're making. And it was pretty fucking good, let me say. A little bit slow in times. It definitely takes itself super seriously and was not afraid to take its time. And there were some parts that I felt you maybe could have clipped a little bit of footage, you know what I mean? But overall, a really great movie. My normal format review doesn't really apply to movies, so my movie reviews for the time being are just kind of a free ball experience where I just give my raw thoughts and talk about what worked for me and what didn't. So let's get into it. So the premise of Dune, for those who don't know, is there's this barren planet called Arrakis, and it's just a ball of sand. And on this ball of sand live the worms. These are insanely huge desert worms. I mean, 400 meters long, swallow your house big worms, okay? And they excrete this substance called the spice. And the spice is a psychoactive chemical that, when consumed in mass, it gives humans psychic abilities. And you can see the future and astral project and all kinds of crazy shit. It's an incredibly potent chemical. And so you can imagine how valuable said chemical is. And especially because it's explicitly stated that for star travel to work in this universe the way it currently works, you have to have spice. So it's the most valuable substance in the storytelling universe, and it's only found on Arrakis. That's the premise. That's the groundwork for the whole story. And the story focuses on great houses that exist inside this galactic empire, and the great houses vie for control of this planet. So we follow House Atreides assuming control of the planet after a long reign by House Harkonnen, which is the undisputable bad guys. House Harkonnen is full of monsters. And House Atreides is pretty undeniably the good guy. Obviously no house is without fault, but as far as I understand the lore around the whole universe, House Atreides is pretty undeniably the good guys of the universe. And so we follow Paul Atreides and his journey to Arrakis and what he experiences there as his family is taking over from House Harkonnen. And we get to meet all kinds of interesting world-building elements. One of my favorite has always been the Fremen. The Fremen is this race of desert-dwelling people. By the story, they're native to Arrakis. You gotta wonder what native means. because humans are the canon species in this series, and we all know humans originated from Earth. So it really makes you wonder, well, how long have the Fremen been there? Is it really proper to say they're native, or are they just descendants of the first humans who settled on that planet? You know what I mean? But regardless, the Fremen are desert dwellers who have created very interesting technology and ways of life that allow them to specifically adapt to and inhabit this desolate, barren, cruel world. I mean, this place is sandstorms that eat the skin off your bones and grind those bones to dust. Heat that melts people. Okay? This is not a hospitable planet at all. But somehow things live here. The Fremen have gotten very good at living on this planet. And they're one of my favorite world building aspects. They have this intensely proud warrior culture. In some ways, very much like, they feel almost like a blend of the Celtic people and the Native Americans. Obviously depending on which tribe. But they're a very proud warrior people with very intense cultural traditions and a great deal of pride taken in their land. So, to me, it feels like kind of a cultural mishmashing of the Celtic people and pick a Native American tribe that was profoundly in tune with the land, which was not all of them. Some of them, but I'm not going to get into that. But anyways, so the Fremen are great. Still suits, sand compactors, their whole way of life. There's a Fremen saying, "Fala Kaifa," which means "long live the fighters." So that tells you where their priorities are. One of the other great world-building aspects, I think, is the concept of the sandworms. I have some problems with the sandworms, in that biologically I'm not sure they totally make sense, because, like I said, they're massive organisms, but they live on this planet that has a very poor ecosystem. Resources are not widely available. So it's kind of hard to believe in a way that there's this giant race of sandworms. I believe, according to someone who read the book, how they get their enough nutrients is kind of explained, but it's a stretch for me. Maybe if I read the book, it would no longer would be, but based on the current knowledge base I have, I find the sandworms to be a little bit of a stretch. Still an interesting concept, though. Now, talking about the actual plot of the story, Great House versus Great House is a storyline that has existed almost as long as humans have. Pretty much since we started organizing ourselves into tribes and clans, this story concept has existed. It doesn't get old if it's done well. It never gets old, because houses can have such unique intertwining traditions and such unique perspectives and ways of life. You can have 1,000,001 shades of evil and 1,000,001 shades of good, and of course there's that whole gray area in between. And making those different shades clash, you just get to see virtually endless combinations and dynamics, and so it doesn't get old for me when it's done well. The sci-fi elements of the book and the movie were great. The still suits that the Fremen wear are, I think, a particularly imaginative invention on the part of the original author, Frank Herbert. And there's just a very delicious sci-fi flavor to almost every little bit of technology. Now, with that said, I'm aggravated by this particular aspect of the story. In a hyper-futuristic world where technology has advanced to the point that it has in Dune, melee combat would be rendered obsolete. completely obsolete. There would be no purpose in melee combat except to honor tradition and establish prowess at that level. You know what I mean? No army would engage in melee combat as its primary mode of combat, and yet that's very common in the Dune universe. Close quarters melee combat is extremely common, and this pops up in science fiction stories all the time. I reviewed another book here on this channel, House of Rahalis, and it was a common theme in that book. Hyper advanced technology, people still fight melee, and this just does not make sense to me. When you have ranged weapons that can just absolutely devastate your opponents at your disposal, that's what you focus on. Because the job of any military is to crush, break, destroy as effectively as possible, as mercilessly as possible. And I'm sorry, man, running in there with a sword and chopping is just not, it's outdated warfare. It's not relevant. And it never will be relevant again unless something sets humans back to the Stone Age. So, that's one thing that's a personal pet peeve of mine. Moving on to like the acting and the overall quality of the production of the film, pretty damn good. There's some actors in here that I've never seen before. Paul Atreides, the main character, I don't know if he's been in anything before. This might be his first major gig. I think he did a pretty good job. I think, assuming he has any range outside of this character, I think he's a pretty good actor. And I think the entire cast really did pretty damn good. Jason Momoa is in this film. He died, which pisses me off because I really like Jason Momoa. I think he's a great actor. I've been kind of following him since he was on Stargate Atlantis. I really like him. But they killed him off. That's okay. He died as a badass, as Jason Momoa should. The production level, through the roof. I mean, it's a Hollywood blockbuster, so you expect that, like, you know, grand epic scale of production, and it doesn't disappoint. I didn't personally see any effects or any bad shots that really disappointed me. The worst part of the movie for me, if I had to really pick one in terms of the production, would just be the bland color palette overall. But we're in a desert planet, so that kind of comes with the territory. I like things that are visually colorful, so when something is just red and sand gold, and you know that's just most of the movie, visually speaking, color wise, it gets a little old for me. But it comes with the story, so that's not really a legitimate bitch. Again, that's just something I notice. Overall, I'd give the movie a 9 out of 10. Just because I feel like there's always room to improve. I'm not sure what they could have done to improve it, but I'd give the movie a 9 out of 10. It was really damn good. If you've been on the fence about going to see it, go see it. It deserves your support. I absolutely cannot wait for the sequel. I wish that you know, the movie had been longer, because I was sitting there at the end, I was like, I want more story. So definitely worth your patronage, definitely worth the price of a movie ticket. Go, take the wife, take the kids. Well, don't take the kids if they're like under 10. If they're over 10, you're good to go, but don't take like really young kids, because there is some pretty high level violence. Overall, highly recommend. Dune gets a fucking passing grade from me. And I will at some point review the book on this channel, because like I said, it's prolific in the science fiction community. It was groundbreaking in a lot of ways, and the book was originally published by Chilton Car Manuals. You know, that alone almost makes it worth a read. Like, a car manual publisher published a sci-fi book? It has, yeah, God, I gotta find out why, you know what I mean? And that's just a fun fact I learned that I thought was really cool. So, go check it out. See you next time, guys.